Welcome back to Peer-Guided DBT Lessons, provided by DBT Skills Application, Peers Helping Peers. This week's lesson, marked 3-6 in our Emotion Regulation module, will be examining labeling emotions. Please keep in mind we're simply peers helping peers, working together to bring about more peaceful, constructive, and ultimately happier lives. In other words, a life worth living. What's in a name? Naming our emotions, what psychologists call labeling, is an important first step in regulating with them effectively. But it's harder than it sounds. Many of us struggle to identify what exactly we are feeling, and oftentimes the most obvious label isn't actually the most accurate. Often we place the most basic name on an emotion. Love, fear, anger, sadness, anxiety, despair, happiness, joy. These are just a few of hundreds of emotions that have names in the English language. There are probably 8 or so basic emotions. Think of those emotions that we seem to be born with, like fear, sadness, and joy. The number and names of basic emotions vary depending on whose theory is viewed. Other emotions are learned and are some combination of basic emotions. Contempt might be a combination of disgust and anger, or optimism a combination of anticipation and joy. Naming your own internal emotional process can reduce the intensity of your emotions. Often feelings of anger, sadness, shame, or fear are overwhelming and disconcerting. Recognizing and naming an emotion can have a powerful effect on quelling it. Psych professor Matthew Lieberman, author of Social: Why Our Brains Are Wired to Connect, calls it affect labeling. You can use affect labeling to help yourself and others. Instead of trying to push an emotion away, the idea is to draw it closer by feeling it, identifying it, and putting a label on it. Instead of indulging a strong emotion that's damaging the conversation, affect labeling acknowledges the emotion in order to stop being hobbled by it. Embraced by neuroscientists, mindfulness meditation practitioners, and psychotherapists alike, though they may all use different terms for it, affect labeling seems to pull us out of an emotional quagmire by engaging our executive brain. Using brain imaging, Lieberman and colleagues noticed that when asked to label a strong emotion, research subjects showed less activity in the amygdala and greater activity in a region of the brain associated with vigilance and discrimination. In essence, the act of considering and then labeling an emotion transforms the emotion into an object of scrutiny and disrupts the intensity. Control your strong emotions, in other words, not by trying to thwart them, but by examining them while you're feeling them. It's been shown that when people don't acknowledge and address their emotions, they display lower well-being and more physical symptoms of stress, like headaches. There is a high cost to avoiding our feelings. On the flip side, having the right vocabulary allows us to see the real issue at hand, to take a messy experience, understand it more clearly, and build a roadmap to address the problem. 5 ways to get more accurate and precise sense of your emotions. Number 1, broaden your emotional vocabulary. 2, think about it. 3, consider the intensity of the emotion. 4, writing about it. And 5, verbalizing it. Starting with number 1, broaden your emotional vocabulary. Words matter. If you're experiencing a strong emotion, take a moment to consider what to call it, but don't stop there. Once you've identified it, try to come up with 2 more words that describe how you are feeling. You might be surprised at the breadth of your emotions, or that you've unearthed a deeper emotion buried beneath the more obvious one. Here's a vocabulary list of emotion terms. You will find this in handouts. You can find much more by searching Google for any of these. It's equally important to do this with positive emotions as well as negative ones. Being able to say that you are excited about a new job, not just nervous, or trusting of a colleague, not just he's nice, for example, will help you set your intentions for the role or the relationship in a way that is more likely to lead to success down the road. Number 2, thinking about it. You could have a quick, silent conversation with yourself that goes something like this. What emotion am I feeling right now? Yep, that's it, exasperation. I'm feeling complete and utter exasperation. Number 3, consider the intensity of the emotion. We're apt to leap to basic descriptors like angry or stressed, even when our feelings are far less extreme. It matters in your self-assessment whether you're angry or just grumpy, mournful or just dismayed, elated or just pleased. As you label your emotions, also rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. How deeply are you feeling the emotion? How urgent is it? Or how strong? Does that make you choose a different set of words? Number 4, writing about it. Not only do people who write about intensely emotional experiences show improvements in objective measures of health, but writing is also a very effective way to boost your performance in pressure-filled situations. Here's an exercise you can use to reflect through writing. You could do this every day, but it's particularly useful when you're going through a tough time or a big transition, or if you're feeling emotional turmoil, or if you had a difficult experience that you think you haven't quite processed. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Using either a notebook or computer, write about your emotional experiences from the past week, month, or year. Don't worry about making it perfect or readable. Go where your mind takes you. At the end, you don't have to save the document. The point is that those thoughts are now out of you and on the page. Number 5, verbalizing it. You don't have to exit the difficult conversation to use this emotion controlling device. Experiment with labeling your emotional state out loud. Be careful not to use it as a weapon. Just state what is, like this. I'm realizing I'm pretty angry right now. Once you understand what you're feeling, then you can better address and learn from those more accurately described emotions. Next week in our peer-guided DBT lessons, emotion regulation module, we'll be examining, does the emotion fit